Hey everyone, welcome back to Two Moms, Too Much Coffee. And today we're going to talk about the shit they don't tell you about postpartum.
Which is
So,
a lot of
which
shit.
is, yeah, quite a lot of shit from the both of us, including our babies. And I actually have a funny story. You know, when they tell you in birth, at least my nurses were like, if you do poop, no one's going to tell you that you pooped. It's just going to be your partner that tells you that you pooped. They didn't tell me, but my partner definitely did. And I also did not even need him to tell me this time around because it felt so good to poop. I was so constipated. And so, anyway, that's what we're going to talk about today.
Wait, back up. How did Adam tell you? Was he like, hey, babe? Or was he like, oh my God?
Well, the first time around, he didn't tell me until afterwards. This time around, I quite literally did not need him to tell me because it was such a relief. Like, I was like, ah, thank God. It was a relief before the baby. I was like, yes, this feels so much better.
I love that.
And then obviously the baby came after that. But honestly, the crazy thing is to me, my first sign that I'm pregnant is constipation. Like, I just every single time immediately I'm like, oh, I haven't pooped in 2 days. I'm probably pregnant. And now I know that my first sign of postpartum is pooping. So
I
anyway,
love
if
that. So
you
it's a full circle, honestly, for you.
exactly. So if you're still tuned into us currently, thanks for joining. So anyway, this is Tempest again, and we also have
Jhshell. Hey, guys.
there's so many things that they just like don't warn us about with postpartum. It's a wild ride from my first postpartum to my second postpartum. They're actually like really different. But let's talk about our personal experiences a little bit. Jhshell, you want to go first?
Yeah, for sure. I can pretty much just hop in straight from the hospital, which is it's more of a physical one. But one of the things that I was not prepared for postpartum, like right after you have this beautiful baby, is the pain I had in my legs. I was not ready. I thought I would just be like, not really like, running around the hospital room, but at least being able to like comfortably walk. It's kind of like what you see on TikTok and Instagram and all the things. No, my legs felt like boulders, like rocks. Like I could not lift them. I had like to lift my legs over the hospital bed. I needed help getting to the bathroom and I didn't have an epidural. So I should be able to walk, but I guess the pain for me, like pushing against the stirrups, I don't know. It's pretty much what my doctor said. My legs were in so much pain. They were so sore. Something I totally was not preparing for at all.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of surprised to hear that, and I do kind of wonder what your doctor would say about it, just because with my first, I didn't have an epidural and I just like walked immediately right after that. And then in my second, they basically were like, "Don't get up." They actually were kind of like super aggressive to me about staying in bed, which is frustrating because I don't want to sit in bed, but that's
Yeah.
fine. And so I didn't have that experience in my second one because I just truly couldn't feel my legs because of the epidural.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, she basically made it seem like it was because of the stirrups and like me pushing against them, but it was like immediately after, like that first walk to the bathroom, I was like, whoa, why do I feel like I'm 98 years old? And I'm not. I'm sorry, but I'm not. I'm a spring chicken here. We're not going to talk about ages, but I should be able to walk to the bathroom, but it was rough. I was not ready for that.
Yeah, and I can't believe you just called yourself a spring chicken, but hey.
I am. I am spry, okay?
In comparison to a 98-year-old, I mean, I suppose a spring chicken.
Because I didn't really do myself any like favors on that one.
Yeah, so I would say it was my early like hospital experience, which trigger warning, I'm going to talk about stuff that comes out of your body that's liquid. I was actually blown away by the amount of blood that comes out of your body
Mhm.
after birth. Like you go to the bathroom, there's blood everywhere. You're putting on ice packs, there's blood all over the ice packs. Like there's just literally so much blood. Um that I just like I'm just like so surprised that people don't warn you at how much there is.
Yeah, it just pretty much is just flowing and like piggyback off of that because you have all of this blood, you have to have things to pretty much help you with that. And what they don't also tell you is I call them vagina sandwiches. They Every time you go to the bathroom, you have to make these vagina sandwiches. A, because you're sore, and B, because you have to have something collecting all of that. So you have like your adult diaper, and then you have your ice pack, and then you have your little foam, witch hazel's foam. Then you have your little hemorrhoid circles or whatever you want to call them. There's like 6 layers. And I just want to go to the bathroom and pull up my underwear and go, but that's like not a thing in postpartum. And I did not go over that. I did not review that. I'm a reviewer,
That
I'm a
wasn't on the
researcher.
test.
It wasn't on the test, guys. And postpartum, I was like, damn, I have to do all of this.
What I'm sorry, what is a hemorrhoid circle? Is that what you called it? What is that? I don't think I got one of those.
They're like by tucks. They're the little tucks
Okay,
pulling. I call
yes.
them the hemorrhoid circle. The little circles, you line them up real nicely on your little pad, and then you pull them up, and then they're
Okay.
not lined up nicely anymore. It's really actually really annoying. But the hemorrhoid circles, that's what I called them.
I gotcha. I used the Frida box, and so they didn't have the hemorrhoid circle. So you and Nick were just living in delusion over there, just like, it's the vagina sandwich and the hemorrhoid circle is just making up names.
I also had the Frida box, but it didn't come with them, so I had to get extra just in case. I'm pretty sure I overdid it with my suitcase, but that's a whole nother conversation um, of everything that I bought that I did not need, but it's okay.
Oh man, we actually probably should touch on that because we talked back and forth during pregnancy about packing our hospital bag. And you had packed your bag so much earlier than I
Are you surprised by this though?
did.
Let's
Right.
be honest. Are you?
That is
Yeah.
true. And I can't get over I don't shower at the hospital. One, because it's so uncomfortable to get out of bed that I'm like, I'm not showering at the hospital. And I find the hospitals to be gross. And so I didn't shower there, but I think I wore one outfit. Like, I'm sure I was disgusting to my partner, but I was like, I can't shower here. This is gross. And I don't want anything in my bag. Like, I don't want the hospital to touch my stuff. So I barely,
Wait.
even though I packed late, didn't even touch most of it.
Meanwhile, I packed like 3 pairs of pajamas, a going home outfit, a robe. I packed all these things. I was there on Thursday and I left on Friday. I did shower. I was literally like, I have to shower. It was the worst shower of my life because the water was cold and it was not fun at all. And yeah, but I had like my little water shoes. I packed a lot of stuff. We should honestly just do a comparison one day of everything you packed and everything I packed. But
Yeah.
I jumped in that shower. Well, jumped, I say that loosely because my legs were in pain, but I was really getting in that shower and it was not fun. I would have rather have waited to get home since I was there for literally a day.
Yeah. Yeah, that's impressive being there for a day. We tried to break out. They won't let you.
They don't. They don't let you.
But this is actually probably a good segue into talking about the physical recovery of it. So I know we talked a little bit about bleeding and also, the adult diapers and whatnot. But one of the things that I was very unprepared for was the soreness. And
Mm,
I didn't tear. So I'm very blessed that I didn't tear, but it still down there just kind of felt like a balloon. I just felt like everything that I touched was so much larger than it used to be. And on top of that, I got a number of hemorrhoids. And
mm,
so it was uncomfortable sitting in every position possible that I just did not expect it. I purchased so many different types of ice packs. I had the ones that are disposable. I had the ones that you just reutilize, you put in your freezer. So many different ones. I wore them for a week. I made sure I fell asleep with them, and I'm hoping that that helped my soreness be a little bit better and my swollenness to go down as well and speed up my recovery process. But I still couldn't get over how much I was like so sore. And I don't remember that the first time around. So I wonder if it's because I pushed a little longer this time.
yeah, I mean, I'm sure that has something that, added to it. And like with that soreness, kind of going with that, it's the soreness of that first poop that, everyone warns you like, oh, that first one. But I was not prepared. Like I was taking Colace daily. daily because no one tells you that it's gonna hurt, not even just like that first one. It's not
Yeah.
just the one and done. No, your recovery. I mean, it's 6 weeks is what they say, but obviously every woman's different. Weeks. I was like, this feels like glass. It's not fun. And I was scared to go to the bathroom. My husband literally got to the point where he was like, did you take your Colace today? A, he was probably tired of me complaining, and B, like he was like, you need to take your Colace. This is serious.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't warn you about it that it continues on after that first one.
Exactly. Very, very similar experience, actually. So, the first time around in the hospital, they just gave me my prescriptions. I didn't ask for anything. And they're like, here's your ibuprofen, which is not enough. And then also, here's your Tylenol, which is also not enough. Oh, excuse me. That was my daughter making noise. But they also were like, here is a laxative. And I was like, what do I need that for? Which obviously they don't tell you that these things like, oh, you're gonna need those to help you poop. But anyway, the first time around I took them, everything was great. I don't even have a memory of my first poop the first time around, which is great. But the second time around, my second birth, they just gave me Tylenol and Advil. And I was like, excuse me, nurse, doctor, where is my laxatives? I need those. And if you could
Yeah,
just
she's
like
like, mom needs those.
exactly.
I
She's like,
gave
she
her a
didn't take
rough
enough of
time
those
here.
during pregnancy. Let me make some noise, make sure she knows that she needs to take her laxatives. But I did end up taking the entire bottle of Colace, and I think it's like a 30-day prescription. And so I ended up taking that, and then afterwards I ended up doing Miralax for a couple of weeks after that as well. And I ended up getting basically to the point of the opposite, which I don't want to get too graphic, but you
Overdid a
probably
little bit.
understand what the opposite is. And then I finally was like, okay, I'm good now. I got my fibrous diet and I don't need to take a laxative anymore. But it certainly took a minute. I was surprised. I was really surprised at that.
That is so funny. Doctor, can I? You missed a prescription. Let's get it together. Okay. Thank you.
Exactly. Yep. So this might be a good time to start talking about maybe like how we did with breastfeeding and pumping.
Yeah, for sure. For me, I feel like we were blessed that we didn't have any like latching issues, which I know is a big issue for a lot of moms. It's more common than I feel like it's discussed. So we didn't have that. Naya latched on pretty easily, pretty quickly from when she was on my chest. But what I feel like they don't talk about or what they say is that, oh yeah, it's not supposed to hurt. Once it's pinchy, then you need to relatch. And so that word pinchy was in my head over and over and over again. No, it hurts. Okay. That first week, even a week and a half, it hurt for me. I mean, I honestly feel like it makes sense. It's a new sensation. I've never had a baby suck on my nipple for milk, A. And B, like this is all new. I didn't have milk come in until Naya was born on a Thursday. My milk came in Saturday night. So she was, drinking colostrum those first 3 days. So we're learning each other. She's trying to get the hang of this. It hurt. It was painful. It didn't probably like a week and a half is when it stopped being painful, where she would latch and it was like, okay. I feel like it was like I got on Reddit and that's when all of the Reddit moms were like, no, this isn't, it hurts. Like they were like giving you the real truth of what it was. And I feel
Yeah.
like when you Google it, they're like, no, it shouldn't hurt. It should be like, rainbows and butterflies. And it's not. It really is not.
Right. Yeah.
Like with breastfeeding, what else hurts is your milk coming in. I wasn't prepared for that to hurt because that's also not discussed. I remember texting you and I was like, my boobs feel like boulders on my chest. I can't put my arms down. And you were like, it sounds like your milk's coming in. I was like, what? It feels like this all the time. You're like, no, just now. I'm like, this is terrible. 2 hours later, I looked down and I certainly had milk coming out. So they don't tell you that that hurts either. I mean, if they did, I didn't get that memo, but it was very painful. I was not prepared for that at all.
Yeah, I always say that that's the part of postpartum that every man and or woman who likes boobs, I swear, like they love that part because your boobs just become so huge because they're so
Huge.
engorged and they're like, oh, they look so great. Like, no, these actually hurt. They're full of milk and it hurts so bad.
And it
There's nothing sexual about this. It hurts.
Yes. And I'm a part of the, itty bitty committee. So my husband was like, wow, look at those things. Yeah, honey, no, they hurt. He tried to hug me and I was like, please don't touch me. It hurts. It's not, yeah, nothing sexual about it. They feel like rocks and it's not fun.
So did you like have any weird postpartum symptoms that you didn't expect?
I don't know if I had any, I mean, nothing like crazy, I don't think. I mean, I had like your usual bleeding, your hemorrhoids, your can't sit down, your boobs hurting. I feel like I had the good old came home with the baby and everything still hurts. Postpartum symptoms, physically anyway. I
Yeah.
know we're gonna dig into the emotional side too, but what about you?
I would say that my biggest, like, weirdest one, I guess, is I would Google, which I'm sorry in advance for people listening to this that don't like blood, but I like would Google, like, what's your, I think it's called like Lashia or
Mm,
Lokia? What's that look like? How long is it supposed to last? Because, like, everybody says, like, it's supposed to be 2 weeks and you're done. And
mm,
I think I bled up until like 6 weeks and then I started my period.
mhm,
And so it just like was immediate where I actually didn't get any sort of break. And I had like a rather large clot come out too, which is just not what you'd expect. I just like certainly was like, what is this? Is this normal? Apparently it is, because I just ended up, getting through it and nothing was wrong. I didn't have a retained placenta, no matter how many times I Googled it. Certainly was not there. So that was probably the weirdest symptom I had. Knowing it's the second time around for me, I did not it's kind of hard because I'm like, oh, I've done this before. So this is just, me hopping back on the horse or saddle. And so it felt a little bit like, the devil, I'm there
mhm,
again. And then I forgot to mention that I also didn't have any latching problems with her this time around. But the first time with breastfeeding, since Abel was in the NICU,
mm.
I had a lactician come in and show us how to get him to latch. And she grabbed my boob so hard and aggressively and grabbed his head to like, she's like, you have to stick your nipple in there and push. It was
What?
the most aggressive thing
I,
I've ever experienced with somebody touching my own boobs. And her name was Jill. Just in case anybody wanted to know. We remember Jill. We love Jill. She was very, very helpful. But we were so surprised. Like, oh, that's how you're supposed to do it. Okay, cool.
And you saying that, it makes me like think about the amount of people. I was telling my husband this the other day. The amount of people that have seen my boobs from having the baby. Literally, I had the baby, lactation consultant came in, boob out. The doctor, all the doctors, all the nurses, but then like my in-laws came, my mother-in-law, my sister-in-law. They're literally on each side of me, like as I'm breastfeeding, boob out. Like get home, my sister's helping me, boob out, mom, boob out. Like literally the amount I'm like, okay, it's just like a thing. You're just like, yeah, this is normal now. I am a human cow. So
Yeah,
here we are.
exactly. And it's so funny to me because people like to be like, why would you breastfeed in public? It's at that point, you're like, hasn't everybody already seen my boobs? I'm confused as to
Right.
why I wouldn't, because everybody has already seen them. There's nothing to it to me anymore. I'm decentralized.
Right. I literally, I'm like, oh, you're new here? Sorry. Like, my
Exactly.
bad.
Yeah, let me cover up, I guess.
So true.
Yeah, but now we get into the fun stuff, fun in quotations. So let's talk about our emotions. As you may or may not know, most women go through baby blues the first few days after birth because there's a really big hormonal drop. They say it's
Mhm.
something like it's the equivalent of like taking 100 birth control pills and then stopping taking them, something like that. So it's a really aggressive drop. And then there is the potential afterwards to postpartum depression, which is not normally geared towards a hormonal thing as much as it happens for various reasons. But baby blues is normally strictly hormonal. So did you have any of those symptoms with like baby blues or postpartum depression or anything like that?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That first week, I definitely had baby blues. And when you're leaving the hospital, they go over everything and they're like, every mom, it's very common for moms to experience it. And you're like, in your head, the back of your head, you're like, not me. I'm not going to experience baby blues. I'm so excited. This is what I wanted. This is what I dreamed of, et cetera, et cetera. In that first week, I remember I went into my closet. My sister was here, and she was, taking care of everything, cooking, cleaning, doing all the things. So, I had help. It's not like I didn't. And my husband, of course, was doing all of the things. But I just like hit me like your life is so different now. And you are in charge of keeping a little one alive.
Mhm.
And it just, everything hits you at once. And I went into my closet and I sat and I just started crying. And for all of my friends that know me, they know like I've always wanted to be a mom. One of my fears was not being able to be a mom. And so I just was like shook. I shook myself because I was like, wow, I'm so sad. Why am I so sad? But I was just like, what's happening? It's just, it's huge. And then the one of the big things that impacted me as well was kind of losing my body. I was not expecting to like look in the mirror and feel so down. Like I was like, oh yeah, you're gonna lose your body. Like, you created a human. But seeing myself and like for someone that thrives on working out and going to the gym at 5 a.m. and that was a part of my regimen. And to now, having those bodily changes and then not being able to just go to the gym whenever I wanted to, like that was really
Yeah.
so that was
I
first
also
couple of weeks.
I would love to say that she's not joking. 5 a.m. Gym, 5 a.m. before children. Because why?
Before children. And mind you, I mean, I'll say I am a pediatric OT. I don't practice right now, but I would go then treat other people's kids, autism, cerebral palsy, things like that. So that was my thing. Go to the gym at 5 a.m. because I knew when I got out of the hospital, I was not going to the gym after dealing with, 10 or 11 kids. But now I'm like looking at my baby, like, when am I going to the gym at 5 in the morning? Soon. So that hit me pretty hard. And then just kind of losing your independence a little bit. I don't know.
Mhm.
I'll let you kind of chime in on that before I dig in a little bit deeper, kind of hear your
Yeah.
thoughts.
So I would say I did not have any of those thoughts this time around because as I like to tell everybody, my first broke me. I I had all those thoughts the first time, and this time I was like, you know what? This is life. This is what life has been. There's no more going out for drinks, and my
Mhm.
body has not been my own for years at this point, which sounds really sad, but it's a beautiful thing. It really is actually not when people like say the beautiful things of becoming a mother, it is not necessarily a part of motherhood that I dislike. It just was a huge adjustment to become bigger than yourself, I would say.
Yeah.
Because for me, as most of my friends know, I am I I think highly of myself, to put it nicely.
That is her putting it nicely. I will just leave it at that.
I've grown. Okay, so that's the
No,
best way.
let's backtrack a little bit one more time. Her name, either on Facebook or I don't remember, was Queen Tempest. Okay, we can go ahead now, just to give everyone an idea.
Is Queen Tempest. I have a crown tattooed behind my ear. There's a lot there's a lot to unpack there. But anyway, so I thought really highly of myself, and so it was an adjustment to be like, now my body looks different, and I wake up and I don't get to just do what I want to do anymore. Like you have
Yep.
to take care of a child that needs you. Me and my partner always say like the human child is the most like pitiful child of like all of the animals out there. Like what they can't do anything for themselves. Like at least
Mhm.
giraffes come out walking.
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
they need us for absolutely everything. They need food literally from your body. They need you to hold them or they're like they can't move. So it was an adjustment that I did not prepare myself for the first time. I don't
Mhm.
even know if you can. I don't know if that's something that
Right.
you can actually ever be like, hey, actually, let me prepare that you'll never have your own body the way that you want it anymore because it's completely different. So I would certainly say that that part was something that happened the first time around. This time around, it was already gone. So
Yeah.
so it was really easy to adjust this
Yeah.
time around. I
Yeah.
did, though, have a different set of baby blues that I was not expecting. It was that I just wasn't able to be my son's like number one anymore.
Mm.
Like he would
Yeah.
ask for his dad way more than he used to, and he'd ask me to hold him, and I'd be holding his sister, so I wouldn't be able to hold him. And I just like started crying after I put him to bed one day because I was like, I
Yeah.
can't. It's it is something that I don't think I could have prepared him for either, where all of a sudden your
Mhm.
mom is no longer just only your mom, it's your sister's mom too. And once they get older, I'm sure he's not going to care. But now he's two being like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, he's been super sweet with her, but it just certainly was a change that made me really sad. Still kind
Yeah.
of sad. So I
Wow.
don't even know if it's baby blues or not, but it made me cry. And I think that that part
Yeah.
is something that I don't cry that much. So I would say that
Yeah.
that's probably the hormonal that made me a little more teary than I was used to.
Yeah, that's huge, Tempest. I didn't even think about that. I mean, because I don't have another one, but it is like you're losing your independence. But then now this little one that also is dependent on you so much, he's like, wait a minute. Like, I love my
Mm-hmm.
sister, but also where's my mom? But you're right there. So that's huge. That's big. And kind of like going off like what you were saying about preparing for it. I truly don't know if there is a way, unless you're in therapy before. I don't know. I don't think there was anything that I could have prepared for because I'm a generally like happy person. I'm a generally like I'm type A and I have a schedule. And I think that's also why it hit me so hard is because I'm so used to like doing things the way I would like to do them. And I had told my husband the other day, I was like, it's hard. Like it's the weirdest thing because, for example, I'm on maternity leave right now and my daughter's gonna have to go to daycare in a couple of months. And I was telling him, like, it is so hard being with her all day long by myself because my husband's back at work because everything is around like breastfeeding schedule and nap schedule and things like that. But at the same time, I don't want her to go anywhere else. Like, I want her to stay here with me and I
Yeah,
want to have this hardness because I love her. But it is so hard. And it's like the little things that you didn't think would matter that do. So, like, now if I want to go get my nails done, if I want to go get my facial, like, big on my self care, I have to check in with my husband and be like, will you be home at this time to take care of the baby? That's not me. I'm very much like, hey, babe, I have a nail appointment at 10 a.m. Have a good day. So, like,
exactly.
the little things that, like, you thrive on in regard to like your independence that's impacted. And you don't think about how those little things, being able to just wake up and make breakfast. Well, you
Mm-hmm.
need to figure out when you're going to make breakfast because the baby may be hungry at that time, or
Which
you may need
she
to put it down
always
for a nap.
is. I swear, she is always hungry the moment I sit down to put a fork to my mouth. She's like,
Yep.
actually, I'm hungry first. I'm hungry, me first,
Me first,
every
like
time.
tags in every single time. Or like, I'm gonna eat at this, especially newborn where they're napping all the time. Contact naps. I literally said that it's the best, but the hungriest time because
Mhm.
you're stuck there for like a couple hours. So it in kind of like what you said, it's amazing, it's beautiful, but the realities of it is it's hard. It's not like you come home and everything is butterflies and rainbows. It's you're readjusting your whole entire life for what you've been doing on your own. And again, I'm not going to tell my age, but for some years now, it's rough. But I wouldn't trade it. I would not trade it for anything in the world. It's the most bizarre feeling. It truly is.
Yep, absolutely. And I do know, like, the first time around, I had an immense amount of like feeling lonely and isolated from people because while I had a lot of friends that had babies at the same time I did, they weren't all in town that had the babies at the same time I did. So I was able to talk to a lot of people, in the middle of the night, which was really nice. But like, the people that I had were friends with here and locally, they didn't have kids. And so they were still going out and, getting drinks and staying up
Mm-hmm.
late or being like, hey, Tempest, you want to go get dinner at 7? Absolutely
Mm-hmm.
not. Like
Yeah.
they don't understand that like that's actually the worst time for me to go eat.
Literally.
And so it's things like that that ended up feeling super isolating. And it eventually ended up where my relationships with all of those friends have changed completely. Um,
Mm.
it's just, we're just in different parts of our lives. I still am friends with all of them and I do my best to make time for them, but it ends up now where I'm like, oh, I haven't seen them in 2 to 3 months because
Yeah.
my whole life is centered around my child now. And
Mm-hmm.
their lives hasn't changed at all. And so they
Mm-hmm.
ended up like, well, Tempest is going to keep telling me no. Let me not
So I'm
invite
gonna
her
stop
someplace.
asking. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
which I don't blame them. I would probably have
Mhm.
done the same. But it does end up feeling, super isolating in the postpartum period, especially for me, at least. I would go out to get dinner often before I had kids. And so it was just my time for socialization and everything. Extrovert, I like to talk to people. And so I went from that to now I'm home with a screaming baby that I just met. And so like he doesn't even talk to me. Like, what the heck? So that part
Yeah.
was a little hard.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. That isolation is like, especially with social media. And I wonder what the research or the statistics look like in that regard of postpartum depression, if it's increased now that we do have social media, because you are seeing all of your friends out. You're seeing them at dinner. You're seeing them do all of these things. I mean, even having a drink, like I can't spontaneously have a drink. Are you crazy? I have to process. Do I have milk at home? Like, all of the little things. And so I wonder, if it has increased because you are seeing all these things that maybe would not be in the back of your mind as much if you weren't seeing it in the center, because it is like it causes a lot of anxiety as well. Cause it's like, when will I get back to that? Or will I ever? So then you start kind of spiraling in that way of how will I get back to that? And for me, it was like spiraling when I'll get back to, that socialization. When will I get back to the gym? When will I get back to yoga? Like just so many things, because all of my friends do all of those things. I surround myself with people who are like that. So it definitely is it's eye-opening on the differences of your lives, like of your friends' lives in your life as well, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And then obviously there's the anxiety around, taking care of this new baby. For me, I have undiagnosed generalized anxiety disorder more than likely,
Yeah.
but I don't want to get on anything for it, so I just kind of keep it undiagnosed. And then you add a whole human that you have to take care of, that like if something does happen, not only will it be the worst thing for you in the world, but you'll likely go to jail for it. And so like there's just there's so much anxiety inducing
Mm-hmm.
moments when they're so small that you're just like,
Mm-hmm.
I am so anxious, like a ball of anxiety. And so I didn't know if it was postpartum anxiety or if it is regular anxiety, if it's just normal. Like I had no idea what I was feeling, but I would be very much like, my partner's not doing it right. You have to do it this way to make sure that the kid is, sleeping this way. I very much like I have the Owlet, which is a oxygen monitor. I have the
Yep.
Owlet on them. I also have the Nanit, which monitors their breathing. I have everything possible to make sure that I can close my eyes and get a restful night's sleep, knowing that they're breathing still.
Mm-hmm.
And so that part is incredibly, incredibly difficult for me because I'm just super anxious. And I don't think, no offense to my partner, I don't think he quite understood that it was likely postpartum anxiety, half the stuff I was going through, which we'll probably get into this at a later point, but I ended up being like struggling super hard with giving my child allergens. Like when we started food, that was so hard for me. And it ended up, I'm pretty sure it was postpartum anxiety because
Mm-hmm.
I just, they're my babies. I don't want them to struggle or get hives or their throat to close up. And
Yeah.
it was so bad that I ended up like waiting way too long to introduce allergens to them.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, so that's definitely one part of it. The anxiety
Yeah.
part is something that I was not expecting postpartum that came
Yeah.
full speed ahead.
For sure. And I'm right there with you on that. I mean, I texted Tempestt the other day and I said, how do you like your Owlet? Because I'm getting one and my daughter's 2 months, because it's gotten to the point where I get up, like she'll be sleeping fine. And Tempestt knows she doesn't like sleeping past 3 hours a night, but I'll get up during the 3 hours I should be sleeping just to check if she's breathing. And, that definitely is probably PPA, but here we are. But also for me, I think I don't know, a different view in regard to the things of how your body can be impacted when things go wrong because of what I used to work in. So I've worked with kids, who I'm not even going to get into that just because it can be kind of triggering. But I think I work with a lot of kids who have a lot of disabilities, and it even from when I was pregnant, that was an anxiety that I had of like, what can go wrong? Because you can have a healthy baby, a healthy pregnancy, and then, as you know, Tempest, that baby might have difficulty coming out. And now they're in the NICU and maybe they have a brain bleed. So, like, all of this was always playing in my head from when I was pregnant. And then you think it will go away once the baby's here, or it'll lessen. But now it's more because now you're seeing things like SIDS and you're seeing things that may have impacted their heart. So many things that, like, because I worked with so many different children who have had so many different disabilities, that has always already been a magnifying glass on what can go wrong, but now even more. So I definitely hear you when it's like the anxiety, it's a real thing. It's not just depression when you have a baby. It's the whole thing for sure.
Yep, absolutely. And I couldn't imagine having the knowledge you do of what could go wrong and then having seen it and then having a child. I think that that would be my limit. That would be my limit. I don't think I would be able to have kids because I know my anxiety would be through the roof.
Yeah. And it's not just me, like my friends that I've worked with, like OT, PT, and speech, we're all the same. And like, because it's terrible. It is terrifying. And I don't want to say it's terrifying because in that regard of like those children are beautiful as well. And those children, their lives are just different, I'll say. And
Yeah.
those parents have different obstacles. And so
Mhm.
that's what I would say is more terrifying, is because I have anxiety dealing with my everyday obstacles alone, let alone those strong parents who are dealing with the different obstacles that I don't know if I would be strong enough to deal with. So I feel like all therapists, all nurses, all doctors, they probably have the same anxieties because they know what can go wrong and, how it can impact your life.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I know that I make it through this postpartum because of you. I feel super supported every time that we text each other in the middle of the night, 3 times a night. Be like, who's
Ditto.
sleeping now? Is she sleeping? Nope, she's still awake. It is super helpful. I hope everybody could have like a kid with their best friend or
Yes.
just even know somebody that has a kid. They'll become your best friend because it
Yes.
is, you just talk all the time and it is super, super nice.
Yes, and you need it. It's just even like I know Tempest will be sleeping because Sequoia is actually sleeping very nicely right now compared to her bestie. But I'm like, she'll read this and it feels nice to just even be able to send the text and know that like you understand. You're not going to be
Yes.
annoyed. You're not going to be like you're like I get it. That's frustrating. That sucks. Like
Mhm.
someone that can understand because like we have our partners, we have my husband and things like that. But it's just they're not breastfeeding, so they are not up with us 5 times a night. I love you, husband, but it is just different. So it's nice it's been so nice. And I've told my family the same thing. I'm like, it's just been nice having Tempest there to be able to just like, even like troubleshooting. You were helping me troubleshoot what was going on with sleep,
Yeah.
which has been our biggest challenge right now. So just being able to have someone really understand it, it really does make a difference for sure.
Yeah, it really, really does. And the funny thing, not necessarily on this subject particularly, but like your late night Google sessions. And I say that my late night Google sessions are actually Chat GPT. I will be Chat GPTing every single thing. Like, why does my baby make this noise? Sequoia like to
How do you describe the noise to
well,
ChatGPT?
she likes to make bubbles out of her mouth, and I swear it kind of looks like when you get rabies, like foam coming out of your mouth. And I was like, what is happening? Why is she doing this? And apparently, as ChatGPT says, and I asked her pediatrician this past week, but as ChatGPT says, she just likes to make bubbles. She's just a bubble maker, and there's nothing wrong with it.
There's nothing you can do about it, Tempest.
But I would be Googling that late at night or chat GPTing it late at night, as well as she was a big spitter upper in the beginning. And so I'd be like, how much spit up is too much spit up? How long does spit up last? Like it's coming out a little bit more than just, a tiny bit. Is that normal? And if you haven't ever gotten on an AI app, they keep asking you questions, trying to reassure you like they're your friend. And so it gets really creepy after a while. But it is really nice where they're like, is this a worry for you? Yes, yes, it is. And
It is
so
getting creepy.
it ends up being really interesting what I come up with when I'm sleep deprived at night. But do you have any fun Googling things that you've looked up?
I mean, just I do everything. It's ridiculous. What has been recently? Let me just even look at her. I can't even think up the top of my head because I think I Google 50 times a day. And it's not even, I just go straight to Reddit now. She had her vaccination. So I had to Google, is this normal poop? And describe the poop. And I won't describe it here because it gets in a little bit much. But just like things like that, when she cries, she holds her breath. When she like is really, really mad, that's normal for everyone. That's normal, I'm pretty sure, for your own child, but ask your doctor. I didn't know that that was normal. And I literally was like, how long can she hold her breath before it impacts like her heart or her brain? Because she will hold that thing for like a good 5 seconds. It freaks me out.
Yeah.
But yeah, those are some of the fun things. But I need to start doing, I said this before and I keep forgetting, I need to start doing Chat GPT like you do. I'm just mostly on Reddit now, which also
Yeah,
is
which,
because of you.
as you know, Reddit's my best friend. I love Reddit.
Yes.
That's normally if I am Googling, it's like, is my baby's flat head normal? Reddit right after it.
Your baby doesn't have a flat head, and we've already talked about this, but
Yeah,
we won't dig
there's
into that now.
no flat head. I've asked her pediatrician
Don't
at her 2-month
need a comment.
appointment. She's fine.
Sequoia has literally the most round head that I've ever seen on a child. So you're good.
Yeah, I mean, it is a pretty round head and 99th percentile. She's got a
And
big ol' head.
yeah, I wasn't going to dig into that for you, but now that we're here.
I would say also, is there any like advice that you've gotten from people that actually was really nice, and or is there any advice that you wish somebody would have given to you?
One of my friends gave me advice. She's also a pediatric OT and she has an 18-month-old. And she always uses the phrase like she always goes into, this is seasonal. This is just a phase. This is not your permanent. This is just a phase. It's just a phase. And she advised me, like, when you are feeling those frustrations, especially with the sleeping challenges we've been having, repeat to yourself, this is just a phase. This is just seasonal. It is not permanent. And I feel like that's something that has really helped me because it is, I mean, I'm human. It is frustrating when you want to sleep and baby just
Yeah.
went down and now she's crying an hour later. Um, and so that's been something that's been really helpful of just me repeating that to myself so I can decrease my frustrations just because she's a baby. She doesn't know. She's just, she wants us. And it's not going to be like this forever. So I feel like that was great advice that I got that I am still every day, multiple times a day telling myself.
Yep.
I feel like something I wish someone may have told me is your partner, your husband, your boyfriend, whoever, like, I think it's great to not put unrealistic expectations, especially during nighttime, because there is really only so much they can do. And I have to tell myself this. And I wish this was like a conversation that maybe I would have had with my husband before or like with friends that have gone through it. You're still going to be frustrated, point blank. You're going to be frustrated if you're breastfeeding because unless you're doing a bottle, but when you're the one getting up constantly, it is very hard to watch your husband sleep. It is. Even like my husband will get up and he will rock her and he will do all the things, but at the end of the day, she still has to eat. So
Yep.
I think like having that expectation, like your husband, your partner, like they can try to help, but they can only do so much. And so like try to live in that reality that right now it's hard, but like don't build up resentment. I feel
Yeah.
like is kind of where I'm going with that. I don't know what your 2 cents are on that.
Yeah, for sure. On that exact situation, I would say I've I've always told when your partner that is not breastfeeding or is not the birthing parent asks what they can do or if they ask for any advice whatsoever, I've always said, no matter what you're doing, you're not doing as much as the other person. And just remember that. And that's not saying that you need to do more or that you can do more. Just recognize that they are doing more than you as the birthing parent or the breastfeeding parent because it's just a fact. It's just a fact that they, even if you're giving a bottle of breast milk and they're sleeping through the night, they made that breast milk. Like there's just so many things that you just cannot do.
Yeah.
And so,
Yeah.
in that situation, like I would just caution the partner to always recognize that that resentment might be there on the other side, but it is only because you just can't do that much. And so just give a little bit of grace. Just give a
Yeah.
little grace.
And it's like we know that. We know
Mhm.
you can. And I like right now, my husband, he does the late night shift, so he stays up till like 1.
Mhm.
And but still, if she wakes up at 11 because she's hungry, if we're not doing a bottle, I still have to. So, it's just, yeah, it's exactly what you said. Like, he will try or they will try to do as much as they can, but like also realize you just can't do as much
Yep.
because you just can't. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
I would say, funny enough, though, the thing that helped me actually cope and the advice that I had gotten first time around was actually from my partner. I call myself pretty pragmatic, but he is even more so. And one of the things that he would always say is that you just need to have realistic expectations.
Yeah.
And I'd say it's probably a different way of looking at like it's just a phase, but it is, your baby might not be sleeping 6 hours a night, but that's because
Hmm.
they're 4 weeks old and 4 week old
Hmm.
babies don't sleep 6 hours a night. Like
Hmm.
that just doesn't happen. And if you had an expectation that you were going to get a full night's sleep and then you're only getting every 2 hours, you're going to be so upset. It's just
Hmm.
so you have to make sure that your expectation are developmentally appropriate for your child.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that has helped even now that my first is 2, like even with, 2-year-old, like you end up having these expectations. And as long as you're like, he's throwing a tantrum, but that's what 2-year-olds do, or she's crying
Mhm.
after her vaccines and she's inconsolable. And that's because that's what, you do after you get a vaccine when you're 2 months old.
Yeah.
And so it's helped me a lot, kind of just like live in that peace where I'm like, this is
Mhm.
just, it's okay. It'll pass. And they're doing exactly what they're supposed to be doing right now.
Mhm.
And then on top of that, it's actually a TikTok I think I saw was that they're not giving you a hard time, they're having a hard time. I
Mhm.
think that that is also another thing that helped me just kind of breathe through it. Like, this is their first time on earth and they're having a hard time. It's
Mhm.
too bright, it's overwhelming, it smells weird.
Yep.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's cold, but your mom thinks you're hungry. Like, it's just things like that where it's incredibly difficult to be a baby. And so
Yes.
they're having a hard time. And I think that that helps me too when I'm like on the verge of tears, like, what's happening? Like, think of what they can't even communicate. So, like, they're
Mhm.
doing it the best way they know how. And so
Right.
I think that
Yeah.
that is also something that's helped me cope. And I would say, some advice that I wish someone would have given me is actually not a postpartum advice, but it is go on vacation before you get pregnant with your partner because
Yeah. I mean, you went on vacation, you went to my wedding.
that is true, but it's just gotta like even after you get pregnant and you go on your baby moon or whatever, or even after you give birth and you leave your kid with like a trusted babysitter or relative or whatever it might be, and you go on vacation, then it's like never the same because you're
Yeah.
constantly like, "How's my kid? Are they doing okay?" And you don't have that peace anymore. And so I think that that's my number one advice is just make sure you get that, just have one thought while you're on vacation that you don't have to think about anybody else but yourself.
Yeah, that's great advice, actually. I wish we would have done more vacations, but we had a lot going on at the time, as you know. But
Yes.
one
Yeah.
of the things you just talked about that made me kind of laugh, though, was what if they're cold? We're trying to feed them because my husband always will be like, "What if she has an itch and we're trying to feed her and she wants us to scratch?" So he's always like, "Is she itchy?" And he's like rubbing her, and I'm like, "She might be. I don't know." Like, and it's true, they cannot communicate with us, so that is honestly a really good point, I love that.
Yes. All right. Well, that's the end of our episode. If you made it this far, we really appreciate it. Postpartum is messy and exhausting and emotional, but just remember that you're not alone. You might have your best friend with you. You might have a colleague that's doing it with you. You might have Reddit doing it with you or ChatGPT. Who knows? Or you could just have us. You could be listening to us while you're in the middle of the night breastfeeding.
Yes,
Either
we'll be
way,
with you.
yeah, we appreciate it. And next episode, we're going to be talking about all the sleep deprivation confessions, anything that we have thought about or how to help sleep or anything of that nature. We will be talking about that.
Yes, mostly Tempest helping me during that episode. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you guys so much for joining us and listening.
Yeah, and don't forget to subscribe and share and do everything. And if you have any comments and or episodes you want us to talk about, just let us know. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Hey, thanks for joining us on Two Moms, Too Much Coffee. Don't forget to like and subscribe and feel free to leave us a review.